Hey all, it is Miss Liz, and I am here today to show all you royals how to host your very own tea party. This party will be fit for any queen, king, prince, princess, duchess, or duke that you may want to invite. I'll show you how to make some sweet treats, give you all the tools you need to set your table, and play a game of true or false to make sure your tea etiquette skills are on point. So grab your crowns and head on down to the castle kitchen with me, where I will show you guys how to make our sweet treats for the day. So the first treat we're going to be making are some scones. These are a staple for any tea party you may attend or host. With using just a few simple ingredients, you guys will be scone masters, and you will have a delicious treat to go on your table. So let's get started making them.
The first thing you are going to need to get started making your scones is 4 cups of flour. You are then going to need 3/4 cups of white sugar. Then we are going to add in 1 teaspoon of baking soda. Then you'll add in 2 teaspoons of baking powder. We're also going to need a 1/4 teaspoon of cream of tartar. You're going to need 1 egg for this recipe. You are going to add in 1 cup of butter, which is also the equivalent of 2 sticks. Make sure they are cold and hard. You're going to add in a cup of plain Greek yogurt, or you can use sour cream, whatever you have on hand. We are going to need a teaspoon of salt. And lastly, you're going to grab vanilla extract. This is not an official ingredient, but if you've ever baked with me before, you know I use it in everything. To get things started, you are going to take all of your dry ingredients and put them in the bowl. That means your flour, your sugar, your cream of tartar, your baking powder, and your baking soda are all going to go in this. You're also going to add your salt into this one. And lastly, you're going to take your 2 sticks of butter and put them on top. Once your butter is in the bowl, you're going to take 2 knives, a pastry cutter, or something else to start cutting your butter into your dough. You will quickly see that I give up on these knives after a little while and I start using my hand. This is my favorite method to get those butter pieces broken up into the dough. You are going to make sure that they are super tiny and super pea-sized. Just keep playing with it and keep mushing it around. It will almost feel like kinetic sand. And when it starts to almost clump together, that's when you know the butter is nicely and evenly distributed. This may take a few minutes, so be patient and keep it going. It is worth it, I promise you. Once your butter is nicely mixed into your dry ingredients, it is time to start adding your wet ingredients. So you're going to add in your sour cream or yogurt, your egg, and your vanilla extract if you're like me and use it for good luck. And then you're just going to start stirring it and make sure that you stir it really good. Get your hands in there, get them dirty. You're going to knead this into your scone dough. So it's going to take a few minutes, be patient, and work it. Once your dough has formed a nice ball, you're going to get a cutting board and you are going to split your dough into 2 equal circles. Now, I'm going to show you guys 2 different ways to make your scones. Feel free to make them both this way, or you can make them all one way, whatever you prefer. The first method I'm going to show you guys is the traditional triangle shaped scone. So what you're going to do is you're going to take that dough and put it on a cutting board and start flattening it out. Now you can use a rolling pin, your hands, a cup, whatever you want to use. As you can see, I use my hands for my scones, and that's the easiest way for me to make them, but feel free to do whatever works for you. You're going to make sure that they're kind of flat, not super thin, just thick enough. Maybe the crust should be about a ½ inch thick, and then it will be time to shape them into triangles. Once your dough is nice and flat, you are going to cut it into your triangle shapes. By doing this, you are going to cut it almost like it is a pizza pie. You are going to cut it lengthwise all the way down the middle and in horizontal wise all the way down the middle, and then you're going to cut those pieces into 2 sections each like a pizza pie to give you 8 scones out of the half of dough that you have. Once your triangles are created, you are going to take a baking pan that is covered with tin foil and you're going to put those slices on it to make them bake. I highly recommend using tin foil on top of your pan because sometimes they get stuck and the tin foil makes them come off a lot easier and a lot better than if you put them on the pan or stuck oil on it. However, like pretty much all my programs, if you want to do something different or it works better for you, go for it, try it, And definitely let me know if that works better than the tinfoil, because this is really the only way I've ever done it, so I will continue to do it this way. Once you are done with that first half of dough, it is time to get started on the second half. Now, if you want all of your scones to be uniform, feel free to make them the exact same way that you did the first batch as the triangles. However, I would love to give you guys an alternate version, so I'm going to show you how to make scones into a circle shape using nothing but a glass. So as you can see, we are starting out the same way. We are flattening out our dough, so feel free to use those hands, use your rolling pin, whatever you use for the first round, you're going to use for the second round, and we're going to make it flat and get it ready to make into a circle shape. Once you have your dough nice and flat, you are going to take a cup to make your circle shapes. Now, if you have a pastry cutter, feel free to use that, but this is what I have in my house, and you are just going to cut out some circles in your dough. After you've cut out all the circles in one round of dough, what you're going to do is you're going to take that dough, roll it up into another ball, flatten it out again, and cut out circles from that new flat surface, and just keep repeating this over and over again until you run out of dough. Once you're finished up putting all your scones on the pan, you are going to put them in the oven for 15 minutes until they turn a nice golden brown color.
So while those scones are baking, what I'm going to show you guys is how to make your very own sweet whipped cream. These can be served on the side with your scones and eaten with some fresh berries on top. Or you guys can just serve it the traditional way with some butter and jam, however you want to do your scones, but I'm going to show you how to make the whipped cream that I personally love on top of these scones. So let's get cooking that while the scones are cooking in the oven.
To make your homemade whipped cream, you're going to need 3 simple ingredients. You're going to need a cup of whipping cream, a teaspoon of vanilla extract, and 1 tablespoon of powdered sugar. To start it out, you are going to fill your bowl with 1 cup of whipping cream. You're going to dump that on in. Then you are going to grab a teaspoon of vanilla extract and you're going to put that in with your whipping cream. And lastly, you are going to be taking 1 tablespoon for your powdered sugar and you're going to dump that in on top of everything else. Now's the fun part. We are going to make that whipped cream by beating it with an electric mixer at your top speed. You are going to keep mixing this until it gets to be a nice stiff peak and that it looks like it's a creamy base and not so liquidy. This does take time, so please be patient. Please keep beating it. I promise you the payout is worth it. I love homemade whipped cream. It is so much better than store-bought. However, if store-bought is the way you want to go, do it. I know that time is of the essence with these parties, so feel free to make the whipped cream however you need or buy it however you need. So this took me about 8 minutes to beat, so I'm going to fast forward through that part. You guys don't need to see this, and I will show you at the end what your whipped cream would look like. So just keep going, have patience, and it will be worth it, and stick with me. So this is about 8 minutes later. This is the finished product of the whipped cream. As you can see, it looks nice and light and fluffy, like whipped cream should. So your next step is going to be to take that whipped cream out of a bowl, put it into a sealed container, and stick it into the fridge until you're ready to use it. I do not recommend leaving it out because it will start to get watery and a little soupy. So your best bet is to definitely refrigerate it until you're going to use it. And that's it for the homemade whipped cream. Super easy, super quick, 3 ingredients, and it tastes amazing. I promise you will love it. And finally, while we were making that whipped cream, our scones came out of the oven. So I'm going to show you guys that nice golden crust that gets on the bottom. That's how you know they're done. You should be able to pick them up in one shot. They shouldn't break or crumble or start to dent when you pick them up. They are going to be a little bit hard like a cookie, and that is how you know they're done. So we're going to put these to the side.
The second treat I'm going to show you guys today that is also a tea party staple are finger sandwiches. So what finger sandwiches are tiny little sandwiches that are made into bite-sized pieces so that you can grab them and eat them daintily. They are not a whole sandwich that you're going to eat, and I will show you guys how to make them. Today I'm going to be making 3 of my favorite sandwiches, which are a grilled cheese sandwich, a peanut butter cinnamon honey sandwich, and a butter sandwich, which is traditional for a tea party. However, you guys can make whatever your favorite sandwiches are. So if it's peanut butter and jelly, if it's bologna and cheese, if it's turkey and lettuce, whatever kind of finger sandwich you want to make is fair game here. These are just the 3 that I'm going to make, but feel free to make it your own. So let's get cooking those sandwiches.
So the first sandwich I'm going to show you how to make is a grilled cheese finger sandwich. For this, you're going to need 2 slices of cheese, 2 pieces of bread, and some mayo to crisp your sandwich up. I know mayo sounds weird, but it is so much tastier on the bread when you grill it than butter is, I promise you. But feel free to make the grilled cheese however you like, or if you're not making grilled cheese, make the sandwich however you want to go. And the reason why I'm making it first is so that it has time to grill on the stovetop and I can make my other sandwiches and cut them all at the same time when it comes off the stovetop. However, again, whatever sandwiches you're making, feel free to make them in whatever order you would like best. Here I am grabbing my pan to put on the stove, and those grilled cheeses will be on their way shortly. So what I'm doing is just prepping my grilled cheese sandwich. It's going on the stove, and while that is cooking, I am going to start my next sandwich for y'all to see. And what this is going to be is just peanut butter, cinnamon, and honey. Again, you can make whatever sandwich you want. I'm just going to start layering my items. And then I'm going to show you guys, the real part of this is to show you guys how to cut your finger sandwich. So bear with me for a few seconds and I will explain what's happening. Alright, so now to make this a finger sandwich, what you want to do is you want to smush down your bread so that it's flat. You're going to take a sharp knife and cut it into 4 strips. That ensures that your sandwich is bite-sized, dainty, and perfect for tea time. Our grilled cheese is ready, so while we're doing that, we're going to make a traditional butter sandwich. So what you're going to do is take your butter, stick it in the microwave for about 10 seconds so it gets soft but not melted. You're going to mush it up a little bit and just spread it on top of your bread. Put your other piece on top, smush it a little bit, and then cut it into the 4 sections again. Put it on your plate, and now do the last with your grilled cheese, and you will have your finger sandwiches good to go. Alright, here is a quick overview of what your finished treats should look like. We are going to set them to the side, and we are going to continue on this tea party.
Alright, so now that we have all of our treats made, it is time to learn how to set our table. I'm going to show you guys both an informal tea setting and a formal tea setting. Depending on your guests or the kind of tea party you're trying to have, you will pick one of these settings. So let's get place setting.
So the first setting I'll show you guys is the informal tea place setting. You're going to start out with your dish right in the middle of your chair. If there is a chair behind me, pretend like it's there. You are then going to grab a napkin and you are going to fold it over. Now you can do it lengthwise, you can do it diagonal, whatever kind of fold you want for your napkin. You are going to make sure that you put it with the seam side, the side that you're folded, facing outwards. You are then going to take 2 forks, a big fork and a small fork, and you're going to put them on your napkin. The small fork goes on the outside and the big fork goes on the inside. That is because when you're eating, you're supposed to work your way from the outside in with your utensils. Fun fact, if you ever find yourself at a place setting that has more than 1 fork going on, because I did not know that. You are then going to take your knife and place it on the other side with the blade facing towards the plate. And you are going to take your soup spoon and put it next to your knife. Then you are going to take your cup and put it at the top of your plate. And you are going to take your teacup and put it right next to that other cup. And this is a simple informal tea setting for you. Next up we have our formal tea party setting. So what I'm going to do is keep the setting that we had from the informal, and we are just going to add in the extra features that we need for this one. So to add to your setting, you are going to get a smaller dish, a bread dish, and put it at the top of your plate with a bread knife. Please excuse my phone. As you can see, I'm trying to make sure that I get the place setting right for you guys because I forget the formal setting because there's a lot of stuff going on. You are then going to take a teaspoon and put it at the top of your plates. And you're going to take a fork and put it right underneath it. I will move the stuff around so it comes more into the camera frame. Again, this is a formal place setting. There's a lot of stuff going on. So a really cool tip when you're setting a formal place setting is to remember where the drinks and the bread go. You're going to take your hands and make a B and a D. Where the B forms in your fingers, that's where your bread bowl goes. And where the D goes, that's where your drink cup goes. It's a really cool trick, right? One of my friends taught me it, and it was the coolest thing ever. So here is the finished product of all of our sweet treats and our informal tea party setting. As you can see, I've added my whipped cream and some fresh berries to the top of my scone. I have my finger sandwiches. Feel free to add more fruit and snacks to your plate. Remember that it's your tea party and have fun. And now let's learn about some etiquette for our tea party.
And finally, now that we've made some sweet treats and we've learned how to set our table, it is time to learn some etiquette rules that every tea party guest should follow. So if you guys would like, we're gonna play a quick game of true or false so I can teach you some quick, simple etiquette rules. Ready? True or false number 1. When you are drinking tea, you must have your pinky finger up in the air like this. If you said that is false, you are correct. The proper way to drink tea is actually to have your pinky finger down. All right, etiquette, true or false number 2. It is proper to put your phones away when you're having a tea party. If you said true, that is correct. I know it's super hard sometimes. We're attached to our phones. I know I am. But when having a phone, it is the proper tea etiquette to make sure that your phone is away. In fact, when having a tea party, any personal items you have should be put to the side under your chair or stored away in a coat closet. This includes jackets that you should not have on the back of the chair. If you have a hat on, that should not be on the table. If you have glasses on, those should not be on the table. The tea table is only meant for the tea settings and the food. All right, true or false number 3. Once you use a utensil, you put it right back on the table if you're done using it. That is false. I know that was a little bit of a tough one because you're like, Miss Liz, what do I do with a utensil after I used it then? I'm gonna tell you. The etiquette when having a tea party is that you never put used utensils back on the table. Instead, what you do is you rest it on the right-hand side of your plate. And that way you can pick it up if you need it again, or that symbolizes that you're done depending on where you're at in the meal. But it never goes back on the table. It goes on the right-hand side of your plate instead. True or false number 4. Do not leave your teaspoon in your teacup. That is true. You never, ever, ever in tea party etiquette want to take a drink from a teacup that has a teaspoon in it. Not only will this teaspoon hit you in the face if you try to drink it, but it's also not the proper way to do it. What you're gonna do is what we just talked about in our last rule, is you're gonna use that spoon, stir it, be sure not to clink the side of your glass, that is proper tea etiquette, and put it on the right-hand side of your saucer dish. If you're using a saucer dish, if you're not, you're gonna put it on the right-hand side of your plate with everything else. True or false number 5, there is actually a proper way to eat your tea time snacks. True. Now, don't get me wrong. If you want to eat whatever order you want at your tea party, that's fine. But because this is a royal tea party, I'm just giving you the royal way to eat stuff. That means that there is a certain order that you're going to eat stuff. The first thing you're going to start with if you're eating your snacks off the plate is you're going to eat anything savory or sandwichy. So that means if you made some finger sandwiches, those are going to be the first things that you eat. Second, you're going to eat any scones that you have made or that are provided for you. And third, you're going to eat any sweet treats that they give you. This could be a piece of chocolate or a little bite of cake or a mini tart, whatever kind of sweet treat there is. That's going to be the last thing you eat. And the last true or false we have is there is no proper way to eat a scone. False. Now again, like I said before, because you guys are having your own tea parties at home, feel free to eat your scones any way you want. However, in a traditional setting, there is a way to eat a scone to ensure that you are doing it the proper royal tea party way. What the proper way of eating a scone is to not take it and put the whole thing in your mouth. Instead, you are going to break it off into little bites. And then using your knife, you can spread your cream, your whipped cream, your butter, and your jam on top of that little bite. And you're going to eat it. And then what you do is you repeat that again with your next bite. You never take the whipped cream or the butter and spread it on the scone in one setting. I know in the video that's what I did. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't follow those tea etiquette rules. So do whatever makes you happy. This is just if you're going to like a real formal official royal tea. There is a proper way to eat the scone. Because I was eating the scone on my own, I just ate it how I wanted it. But these are just some basic tea etiquette rules that you guys may want to impress your royal guests with at your next tea party. Thank you, royals, so much for joining me for today's royal tea party.